Hey everyone, thank y'all for joining us for our beef brunch news update on Tuesday, August 5th. It feels like a rare occasion that you actually have all of us on here, and some of us on video. But if you're watching, as you can see, we don't have video with Tripp or Lee. They're out in the field, so we're going to go ahead and let them get started. Lee, we'll turn it over to you first for our Northwest update.
Well, thank you, Ashley. Glad to be with you all here today. I'm telling you, me not having video may enhance your viewing of this news update for sure. Um, Gosh, it's hard to believe that we're in August already, folks. This year is just really rolling by. This growing season's rolling by, it seems. You know, it's really been a great one in Northwest Louisiana. There's been pockets of dry. There's pockets of drought right now, even as we speak. But by and large, most everybody has been getting some sporadic rains, some more than others. Of course, that's just the nature of it, these little pop-up rain events. Most everybody's been getting some. The temperatures, they've been very humid, of course, and it's been hot, you know, folks. It's July, August. But the last couple of days, we had a little front roll through, and it's been lower humidity, and we've really got kind of a taste of fall maybe 2 months early for us, a month and a half early, something like that. So just looking forward to what's going to come on down the line as far as weather-wise. We know we're not done with the hot weather, not by a long stretch. It's going to persist and everything, and we may eventually get into a little bit of drought conditions. Who knows as far as that goes? But we sure have grown some forage this summer, folks. It is just outstanding the amount of grass and there is out there in these pastures, folks. Nobody, it seems, is short on grass. Everybody's making some hay. A lot of hay been getting wet in our country. People cutting, thinking they're safe, and then the pop-up showers roll through and get a crop wet. But by and large, a lot of hay out there, a lot of grass in the pastures. It's a good time. Also, we were visiting before we started recording. A lot of army worms in my corner of the state. Bermuda grass stem maggots. Brittany was talking about that. They've been running rampant in our corner. Had more calls on stem maggots in the last 2 or 3 weeks than I've had in some years. So it definitely it comes with the territory, comes with the weather and the amount of rain. Cattle prices have just continued their record setting trend. We've seen them, I guess, slow down just a little bit as far as their upward ascent, but still climb. We're still going to see some increases on this week's market report. Not a lot of cattle being worked, of course, as hot as what it's been. Mainly some shipping and stuff. Everything's getting done in the early morning, just to avoid the heat of the day and everything. That being said, I'll jump into our market report. And this is for the time period of July the 21st through August the 4th. And remember, these are self-reported prices. These are average prices. These cattle aren't graded, so you've got to take it kind of with a grain of salt, folks. So on 500 to 600 pound steers, the average of the prices paid was $2.92 to $3.90 per pound. 5 to 6 weight heifers, $2.92 to $3.78 a pound. Cull cows, $1.38 to $1.76. Cull bulls, $1.70 to $2.10. The average of the high prices paid for our replacement cattle on the bred cattle, this is per head, folks, $2,825 per head. And on your pair cattle, $3,628.57. Now, the percent change from last news update report, 5 to 6 weight steers experienced a 3.65% increase, a 10% increase on 5 to 6 weight heifers, a 0.6% decrease on cull cows, and a 4.9% increase on cull bulls. A couple of points of order on this, huge increase in heifer prices. And that's seen in a lot of the market analysis that you're seeing. These heifer prices are just getting on up there, folks. People trying to add in maybe some replacement heifers thrown in there. Just seeing some really strong heifer prices. Saw a 0.6% decrease on these cull cows. I think that's just just a product of the data. I don't think there's any statistical relevance to that, folks. That we've continued to see record cull cow prices, and I don't think that's a function of anything but the data. With that being said, just a great time to be in the cattle business. Plenty of grass in our corner of the state. Good prices. What more can you ask for? I'll turn it back over to you, Ashley.
Thank you, sir. Tripp, your turn for the Northeast region.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Edwards, and thank y'all for having me again on our news update. So I've got several things to comment on that's going on in the Northeast region. First and foremost, harvest time is officially underway in all of our row crop parishes in my region. It's been kind of fun over the last couple of weeks to kind of watch the harvest line work its way from south to north. I was doing some work in Vidalia last week, and south of Vidalia, and them boys were getting fired up and ready to go. And there's a little bit of corn, a little bit of beans getting cut down that way. It's been fun to kind of watch it trickle its way north. But I think at this point, it's pretty safe to say that all of our parishes that have row crops in them, harvest is underway, and folks are getting out there and getting stuff cut just as soon as they can get it dried down enough to cut it. This time of year, it does start getting extremely hectic for all of our diversified producers, because their time that would ordinarily be obligated to their cattle operations, now that's being focused on getting their crop out of the field and hauled to the elevators. So not a whole lot being done on the cattle side as far as working goes. Anecdotally, there's a little bit of cattle work going on early in the mornings. Some folks sorting through cows, pulling open cows out, flight open animals, but nothing really of any note to comment on there. But what comes with the chaos and craziness of harvest time in my region is an increased traffic load on our roadways. You got hopper bottoms getting in and out of the fields and going to elevators. You got combines up and down the road, going from field to field, trying to find something that's dry enough to get in there and cut. So just show some caution, be respectful to people on the roadways that you're sharing it with, and look out for one another, guys. It's each of our responsibilities to make sure that we're safe on the road. And unfortunately, it seems like every year there's an accident during harvest time that could have been avoided by somebody just taking a little bit of time and being patient. These guys will get out of your way as soon as they can. Just know that they don't want to be slowing down the road any more than you want it to be slowed down. In the hay side of things, guys, a lot of hay has hit the ground and been picked up in the last 4 weeks. Last 2 weeks, continuing that trend on. A lot of hay has hit the ground and been put up. Like Lee mentioned, some of it did get some pop-up showers. There's been some fields get rained on, but a lot of good hay has gotten put up. I've actually seen some samples come back from some hay that was cut a couple weeks ago, and it's actually testing better than I thought it would. This was some first cutting hay that had gotten rank on them. But it came back testing pretty solid. So looking forward to the next few weeks as we can kind of get on a good pace with our hay production cycle and maybe get caught up. There's some guys that are behind that are looking for some favorable windows to kind of get caught up moving forward. I suspect we'll see a good bit more hay up my part of the way get cut throughout the week, as we don't have double-digit rain chances until next Sunday, I believe. So that could change drastically with the next update on the Weather Channel. But right now, it looks like we got a pretty good window and got some grass in front of us to cut. So hay season's rocking on pretty good up this way. Lee mentioned it, and we were talking on the phone earlier before we started this meeting. Brittany just came from Scout, and I imagine Vince is seeing the same thing. I've never seen Bermuda stem maggots this widespread. I've seen them in pockets with some problems. I've seen some mild issues. But, guys, I think pretty well statewide, at least from Ellick North, everybody I've talked to one degree or another is fighting Bermuda stem maggots. And oftentimes guys that claim they don't have them, if you go out to their place and look, they're there. Armyworms also getting to be a problem. I think they might be more of an issue in the Northwest than we've seen in the Northeast, but there's been some degree of armyworm pressure. There's some guys making some treatments. Be doing yourself a favor right now, guys. Be out there scouting. If you're waiting on birds to tell you when you got worms in the field, you've missed the stage of their life cycle where you can really hammer them and keep a population in check before any real damage gets done. Make sure you're out there checking. A square helps. If you can toss out a square, the way you can visualize a 1 foot by 1 foot area and count how many worms you got in it. That way you know exactly what kind of population you're dealing with. Our economic treatment threshold is two fall armyworms per square foot in your pasture. And as anybody that's ever scouted a field knows, it does not take long to get to that level. We're also getting to a part of the summer, moving over to the grazing standpoint. There's lots of grass out there, but I'm sitting here looking in a field right now at a state record potential perilla mint crop. We're getting into the time of the year where if it does turn off dry and some of these forages start getting rank in the field on us, that means we might start seeing some perilla mint issues. So just be aware of what's in your fields. You know, a little bit of scout, a little bit of preventative measures can go a long ways looking at the health of your herd. One last thing to note going on in the Northeast region and the Central region as well, Dr. Smith has arranged a bus tour for all of us A&R agents. We'll be departing from the Alexandria area and traveling north throughout the Northeast region. And we've got a lot of really cool diversified stops for all of us A&R agents. And it'll be neat to get people from across the state to my corner of the state to just see what all we have going on up here. The diversity of agriculture in Louisiana is one of our great strengths, and it's one thing that sets us apart, not just in a regional standpoint, but in a worldwide standpoint. So I'm very excited to have our friends and coworkers from all across the state join us on this bus tour and see what all's going on up here in the Northeast region. You know, the Delta is a pretty special place, and I'm very proud to be able to call this area home. And without further ado, Ashley, Dr. Edwards, I'm going to turn it back over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. That's good timing too. You started cutting out right there at the end, but we got all of it. Brittany will go ahead and let you kick off our Central and South Louisiana update.
Thanks, Ashley. And Tripp kind of covered a lot. You know, I was going to talk about just my experience today. I had last week just got a picture sent to me by a producer and kind of looked at it, and just it was a little, just very little tiny white worm that he had in his hand, and I was like, I've been hearing a little bit about the stem maggots lately, so I said, that's a Bermuda stem maggot, and he said yes. So Dr. James Villegas and I, he's our field crop entomologist, we were able to go out and visit with that producer today and scout the field. And it was, you know, interesting for me because I hadn't personally seen really like what the damage looks like that they do and whatnot. So luckily the producer was able to spot it. And just like Tripp had mentioned as well, you need to be scouting and looking for these things. You know, just what we saw kind of with the damage from the stem maggot is just on some of your maybe, you know, taller pieces of Bermuda there, just right at the tip of the grass. Looks like it's just real skinny, like it's kind of just dying off. So that's a good sign that you could see something there, and then sure enough, just peeled it back and we could see worms in several. And then just sweeping the field like we did, were able to come up with some army worms as well. And they were at a good size right now to where they will be responsive to a treatment with a pyrethroid. So that producers are going to get that taken care of. And I'm sure, you know, with that being said, there's probably others in the area, but just like Tripp said, if it's probably by the time you're noticing those birds in your field, it's probably too late. Those army worms are a lot easier to treat whenever they're small, in that smaller growth stage. As far as conditions in the area, you know, I know last week we had a few pretty heavy rain days. I know Vince and I spoke last week, and I had got 3 inches at my house, and I think he got about 1.5 inches at his, and we're not terribly far from each other in the parish. But it just, you know, kind of shows how, you know, different parts of the parish and where the terrain may be a little different and whatnot. I mean, some places are, you know, getting 3 inches, 1.5 inches. Maybe they missed it completely. You know, it's very hit or miss. One thing that I have been hearing from people say, as far as, you know, maybe they have some ponds on their property and whatnot, they're saying, you know, the ponds are a little bit lower than what they normally are at this time of year. So I do think, you know, it is a little drier, at least from what I've seen, and you know, the ground's really soaking up that moisture. As far as that goes, also Tripp and Vince and we all attended last week a weed ID training that was held on campus. That was a great event that was there with the majority of all of our weed scientists across the state working with different crops and whatnot. We're all there. So I think it was a good learning experience for us, just getting to really see those different types of weeds and get better at identifying those. And of course, we can also always help you with those kinds of things. Right now, just kind of the season that we're in, you'll see a lot of weeds that are pretty tall right now and have, their seed heads. So for me, there's a lot easier to identify whenever, they're at that stage of growth. But of course, by that point, they've already had seeds probably, and those are perennials a lot of the time. So their, damage could already be done there. But it was a great training and kind of able to learn, to be able to spot those when they're a little bit smaller and they'll be a little bit easier to control. As far as just kind of pastures, like Lee had mentioned, the grass growth has been good in our area as well. I know my neighbor that has the pasture, behind my house, he had told me the other day, he said, I sold my calves. I don't have much in this pasture, and there's still so much growth. And he actually went before that rain we got last Wednesday. He had gone and got that shredded. Just there was just no way they were going to be able to eat all of that. So definitely have had some growth. And again, still some, weeds that may need to be controlled as we kind of get toward the end of, kind of near the end of hay season here in the next couple months. And again, just make sure you're scouting for those armyworms and also those Bermuda stem maggots. And really in the Bermuda stem maggot, as I believe Lee or Tripp one had mentioned, once you see there's not much you can do once you see the actual maggot. But chances are if the maggot's present, you're going to have flies present in that too. So we were able to spot some flies, and the same treatment for the armyworms can take care of those flies as well, but you're only going to get those at that fly stage. So again, and if you need help identifying anything, just make sure reach out to one of your local extension agents. And of course, we also have people available on the state level that are our specialists in different areas, whether it's forages, whether it's weeds, whether it's entomology. I've had field visits with several of them in the last few weeks, and they're glad to come out and use their expertise and take a look if you're having any problems. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Ashley.
Vince, go ahead and let you add on to that. You're muted.
Sorry, that helps if I put the mute button off. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Edwards, for having me today. It's always a pleasure. And we're late summer, I would say, or in the summer months and heading into fall. And like Leah alluded to, it's hard to imagine it's already August, but we'll be thinking about planting ryegrass here before long. Still, people are curious about some weed control on some of the perennials and some of the problem weeds that we have, such as horse nettle, dog fennel, and all those things that make a pasture unsightly. But we need to be cautious of those herbicide applications at this time of the year, because as we move closer to ryegrass planting, some of those treatments can have a residual effect on germinating ryegrass. So you should have at least a 60-day window to eliminate some of those threats of having some poor germination issues. So be aware of that. The Bermuda stem maggot and armyworm is a hot topic. I haven't talked to a lot of people that have a lot of problems. I've had some of my own experiences with the Bermuda stem maggot this year. We went ahead and just cut that field off and just kind of watching it for the regrowth and maybe try to catch the adults to make an application there. But as we get into the fall, and hopefully we get some drier periods, as Brittany alluded to. Her and I live approximately 10 or 15, maybe 15 miles at the most away from each other. And there was a difference of 1.5 inches of rainfall in one rain event last week. Was planning maybe to cut some hay on Sunday. We got 3/4 inch Saturday afternoon with a 60-mile-an-hour winds and just blowing rain. So it looks like today, as Lee alluded to, the frontal passage. We even noticed some lower humidities this morning, and I went outside at shortly around lunchtime, and it feels a little bit better. It's hot, but you get in the shade, you can feel the difference in the humidity. So yes, there's a good little taste of fall, and hopefully we can continue to have some of those frontal pastures, especially in South Louisiana. I talked to a lot of folks in the cattle business, and there is not a lot of hay made Alexandria South. So with that being said, there is a lot of carryover from last year, but naturally that's going to be poor quality. So the quality of hay that we have in the field right now is in most cases overgrown, weedy. So we're looking at some low quality issues throughout for most of our hay producers in South Louisiana. So with that being said, it's going to be ultimately special needed to check that hay quality and make sure those supplements are being added in your winter feeding period. As we move into the fall calving period, which most folks, some will start in September, but most folks are from October through December. So you want to make sure those cows are reaching their lactation potential, even on those dry, hard, low quality forages. If you're needing to supplement, reach out to your local feed dealers and see what the options are. There's a number of different liquid feeds that can go into feed tanks. Also, cubes and what have you. It's an ideal time of the year to deworm right now as summer is upon us. So it's not ideal to pin up. It's so hot, but there are some different options for feeding some of the white wormers that we have available to us. So with that being said, insect seems to be a hot topic. Horn flies, I mentioned it last time I was on. It's if you're going to pin up to put ear tags on, be done by 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning because it's awfully hot come 9 o'clock. But if you're going to pin them and stop them for one, you just soon put two to get you that carryover through the critical horn fly period, which is generally late August through the month of September till we start getting some frontal passage with some rainfall events, and then the flies seem to kind of fade away. Keep up with your mineral options as these cows they're reaching their peak lactation or beyond that, but getting into mid to late gestation, you want to make sure the pregnancies are secure with the optimal nutritional needs and also the micronutrients that might be required to hold on to those pregnancies, because you need to do all these little things. Take care of your bulls. I mention it every time. It's hot right now. If there's a mud hole, they're going to make a pond out of it. Make sure that they're not in situations where they can get bogged down and get stuck in those mud holes or ponds or canalways. And you see them as you go up and down the road. Every water hole there's a cow in it. So ponds and what have you, it's a good idea to make sure that you check in daily and make sure their water sources are clean and fresh to keep that daily requirement as needed and keep it as good as you can. So with that, I'm going to close with that. Just be if you're going to plant some ryegrass, some of these companies are not stocking more ryegrass seed than they need. So reach out and get some seed booked and make sure that your needs are met and in place whenever the time for planting ryegrass is upon us. If you're going to add some legumes, make sure they order in that fresh batch of seed for you, because some of these legumes carried over, sometimes the germ quality is not always that great. So you want to make sure all these things are in place. Here we are in August. Before we know it, it'll be October. It'll be time to get all these things rolling. So I'll close with that.
Thank you, sir. And I guess that's a perfect segue, honestly, into the fact that time is about to fly and we have a lot of things coming up. Just in terms of all of the production stuff that has been mentioned by everybody today, but also our events and things that we have. So I've mentioned quite a few of these before. I'm going to list them and give you dates because there are quite a few. I have descriptions and information in the video description. As always, you can reach out to me, but I have contact information for each of these events too. So this Friday, August 8th, if you happen to be a sheep or goat person in the north part of the state, Tripp is doing a small ruminant workshop at the Union Parish Extension office from 3 to 5. So there's several of us that are going to be speaking at that. There are 2 field days coming up. I'm sorry. There are 2 opportunities to attend the same field day coming up. So it's pasture monitoring and management, tools and techniques for healthier fields. Again, that's at 2 different locations. So the first one is August 14th at Bayou Farms in St. Francisville. Dr. Donna Gentry is the contact for that one. And then on August 19th at Cypress of Iowa or Simone Hay in Iowa, Bradley Pousson is going to be the contact for that. Both events start at 8. Lunch will be served, and they're asking that you RSVP for those separate events. Our Grazing School, annual Grazing School, I believe this is the 4th one that's being offered, is open for registration. We're only able to take 30 participants for that. So if you're interested, please go ahead and do that registration. That is all online. I have that linked here. That's 5 workshops. So each workshop is different. You attend all 5, to successfully complete the program. Those workshops are September 12th, 26th, October 10th and 24th, and November 7th. Dr. Kurt Guidry is our contact for that. Dean Lee Research and Extension Center's Beef and Forage Field Day is Thursday, September 11th. That's an afternoon/evening event. We will kick that off at 2 o'clock with registration in the vendor show, followed by the field tour and then supper. I have a link to RSVP there. Again, it's free to attend, but we do need a head count for supper that night. If you have any questions about that, reach out to me. We're still working on finalizing the agenda, and we'll get that out to you soon. Camille Brady is hosting a Beef and Forage Field Day in Raceland. So that's Lafourche, Assumption, and Terrebonne, Parish area. That is going to be Wednesday, September 17th. Check-in is going to begin at 8:30. The event kicks off at 9. The link to RSVP for lunch counts is also listed. Then Tripp, the following day, has the Northeast region's Beef and Forage Field Day. He and Dr. Jose Neto are putting that together. That will be at the Gold Mine Plantation in Mangum. It's going to kick off, I think it actually kicks off at 8:15. I have 8 a.m. written on there, but it'll be around that time that registration and the vendor show will start. He's still working on the RSVP link, so we'll get that to you soon. For those of you that are commercial poultry producers, I went ahead and put this on there because I know quite a few of our beef cattle people in the northern part of the state also have poultry houses. So again, this is for commercial poultry. Field Day, September 30th at the Hill Farm Research Station in Homer. It's going to go from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can call the Hill Farm to RSVP for that and contact Will Strickland with any questions regarding that event. No birds will be present for biosecurity reasons, so our houses will be empty. Moving into October, Dr. Charlie Hutchison is hosting a beef, dairy, and forage field day at the Southeast Research Station on Wednesday, October 1st. We'll get you all more information as it comes to us for that. We've mentioned our pregnancy determination clinics. Again, there's a wait list. Contact Lee or myself for that, but those will be October 7th and October 9th. And then the AI school at Dean Lee, I've been getting calls and emails about that. There's like 40 people on the wait list for that, and we can only take 15 at a time. So always go ahead and contact me. Let me know if you're interested. Those of you that are on the wait list, I know several of you have emailed me. I'm working on field day and some heifer development stuff, and then I'll start on that registration. So it will be coming soon. And then just to go ahead and put it on your calendar for December, Friday, December 5th at the State Evacuation Shelter will be the Louisiana Forage Conference that we have every year. So I know there's going to be a lot more that's going to pop up and go on in between. But as always, let me know if you're interested in any of these events. I do keep interest lists and wait lists for everything. And I can point you in the right direction to whichever agent is needed for the different events and programs. And with that, we'll see y'all again in just a couple of weeks.